Welcome back to another episode of the Grassroots Tennis Podcast, a platform created to entertain, educate, and grow the game of tennis at all levels. My friends call me Ship, but this show isn't about me. We will be bringing you interviews with coaches, community leaders, and players, along with updates about tennis happening around the world. Tennis is a culture, and we are all writing tennis history together. Today, I am here with Eliot Spizzirri. Eliot has been pretty busy. Just finished up with his college tennis season. He is a three-time doubles All-American, two-time singles All-American. Most recently, just was the runner-up at the NCAA doubles championship. He was also a U.S. Open junior doubles champion. I feel like I could keep, pumping you up, but I'm just going to say, Eliot, welcome to the pod.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk tennis.
I'm going to start with a couple quick hitters. I need to know, what's the racket of choice?
Right now, I just switched to the new version of the Babolat Pure Aero VS. Or I guess it's called the Babolat Pure Aero 98 now. Because I used the older one. It was called the VS, and they just changed it, so it's now the Pure Aero 98. I guess some would say it's like the Alcaraz racket now. And so, yeah, I just literally started hitting with that 2 days ago for the first time, and I absolutely love it.
Love that. And do you weigh down your rackets?
I do, yeah. I have a guy in New York, Roman at RPNY Tennis, who helps me out.
Do you know what the weight is?
I want to say like the swing weight is like 307 or something around there.
Somewhere around there.
I don't know all the specs. I should know.
That's okay.
Yeah, I should.
Do you know about what age you started weighing down your rackets?
I want to say like 16 or 17. I went down to Orlando. I was doing a training camp there, and Roman was down there, and they were like, listen, first of all, I didn't really know this when I was young, but a bunch of rackets don't come the same weight from the factory. There's obviously a disparity in weights because
Right.
they can't, the quality control is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, first off, let's just get all your rackets weighted the same because that's standard procedure. And obviously that would help you. And I noticed, like, when I was young, obviously I'd pick up some rackets and they'd feel better out of my hand and some not as good. So I think that was probably part of the weight. And then when they weighed them all up in Orlando, that was a huge plus. And ever since then, I've kind of at least just weighted them the same. And then eventually, as I got stronger, tried to add a little bit more weight without going overboard and affecting, causing any injury or something like that.
Yeah. And then what's the string of choice right now?
Alu Power 125, strung at 52 pounds, I think.
Yeah. So obviously tennis is a game where we lose a lot week in, week out. And I think that's a really important thing for people who play this game to hear, especially juniors. I usually ask people, who was the first person to really kick your butt?
This is actually funny. I don't remember a lot of my matches. I don't have a good memory of when I was young, but the most almost a nightmare that I have sometimes is I remember at Little Mo Nationals in Chicago, I was playing against Tyler Zink, who was my doubles partner. We won the US Open Juniors together. And this guy came out. I was just, a regular kind of country club kid. I probably went out there in all whites and didn't really know what to expect. Was just playing tennis, and this kid came out in like headband. He had wristbands on both sides. A full warm up. He had a bag bigger than him. He had like 3 rackets, and I think I only had 1 or 2. And he ended up beating me 6-0, 6-0. And I think that was when we were like 10. And then 7 years later, we ended up playing doubles together and winning the junior slam. So it's a funny world, but that was probably the first like real beat down that I remember when I was young. That was a tough one as well.
Everybody who plays tennis has some trauma, and it's always a funny story, or at least it's funny to reflect on. So I really enjoy asking people that question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So obviously, to continue improving your level over time. You've had the opportunity, I'm sure, to work with some great coaches. When you are looking for a coach, what do you think people who are looking for a coach should be looking for in their coach? What makes a good coach?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things you need to look for. The number one over everything, I believe, is someone who cares. I think that someone, if you have a coach that cares a lot, they don't necessarily have to be the best tennis brain or have played the highest level of tennis by any means. If they care, they're going to invest the time to study the game, to look at your game and compare it to maybe the next level, and try to find whatever uh, improvements you need to make and fill any holes in your game so that you'll become your best. So I think number one is 100% care, because obviously then they'll have your best interest. And another key aspect, I mean, I look for in a coach, and I've heard my coach talk about a ton. I've worked with the same coach since I was 9, so we've had a very good relationship. But he always says when he's looking for coaches, it's very important that you find a coach that can explain things in multiple ways so that it resonates with you. I think it's pretty easy to explain something that's semi-obvious in one way, and the problem with that is that's everyone learns differently. And so you need to be able to explain things in 5 or 6 ways and have 5 or 6 drills that you have in your back pocket to work on some specific thing, because everyone's different and you're going to click on a different saying or a different drill. And so that's crucial. One, that you care, and two, that you have the ability to explain things in other ways and also be able to, I think, connect with a variety of people. Everyone takes coaching differently. Some people want to be more of like a military style environment. Some people, they want to have a nice like pat on the back and kind of a more loving environment. So I think the combination of knowing your players, knowing how to explain things in multiple ways, and caring a lot would be probably my 3 most important things to find in a coach.
Got the bullet points and everything. We like that.
Yeah.
So
Try.
obviously, there's probably some tennis players out there that would in their time, or just even now, would sell a kidney to finish the year ranked number 1 in the nation in singles and number 2 in the nation in doubles. Obviously, you've had a lot of success. Let's say there's a player listening to this podcast at some point who's a good player. They're solid in the sense that, fundamentally they can volley, they understand the technique, the footwork, but they want to go from good to great, or even great to excellent. What is something that, whether it be a drill, a habit, or something you would tell them to implement for someone who's really trying to raise their level?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing in the last couple of years that's catapulted my game in a sense is the mental aspect of it. I think most people would say that when they make a big jump in their game, it has to do a lot with the mental part of it. And I started working with a mental coach. Her name is Alexis Castori, and she works with a lot of top professionals. I started working with her a couple of years ago, and ever since, she's really taught me how to sort of sort out my thoughts in the best manner on the court and off the court, and kind of deal with the ins and outs and the pressures and expectations of tennis and certain times in your career and whatnot. So that's helped me a ton. But I feel like if to go from a good to a great player, it's a mindset change. I think the more you commit to the game, the more it's going to give you. So if you really are obsessed with it and you invest your time and energy into the game, it's going to pay off at some point. It might not be 3 months. It might not be 6 months. It might be a year from now. But I think eventually, something I'm a firm believer in is the work that you put in eventually shows. And so I would say the biggest thing to implement is just try to find ways to work harder, wake up earlier, stretch more, find a very strict routine that would be that of like a pro tennis player. And then you can start expecting to see results after, you sort of implement a pro style schedule and work ethic and mentality. I feel like sometimes myself and when I was young and I see others do this is like they'll have such high expectations, but they're not working at the level that the pros are working. And so I just, it doesn't make sense. If you're not putting in the work and you're not committing 100%, you're not obsessed with this game, it's going to be really challenging because there's so many people that are. And so, yeah, I think committing to it 100%. I know when I was young, I would convince myself that I'm 100% in, but like there's this extra 10% that you really have to kind of find within. And that's a big hurdle. It takes a lot of sacrifice. So find that extra 10% of commitment and to sort of emulate your routines after a pro would be probably the biggest thing that I think takes someone from a good to great player, because everyone can hit a great ball these days.
Yeah, no, I think it gets to a point to that last thing that you said. Everybody can hit forehands, everybody can hit backhands, but they're those little things that we do that kind of put us over the edge. And the more people hear that, I hope that sticks and resonates with people. And like you said, what you put into it, obviously, you're going to get out of it, or we hope that you will, and usually you do. You to get to this level, obviously you've spent a lot of time practicing. And like you had said, you obviously, I'm sure, have established a routine with your coach that's surely changed and developed over the years, having been with him for so long. What do you feel like a quality practice session looks like?
Yeah, that it's all dependent on the week or, what your schedule is. If you're 2 days out from a tournament or 4 days out from a tournament, your practice is going to look a lot different than if you're, 2 weeks before your next match. So I think, yeah, everyone has to be smart and scheduling and sort of creating their practice plan, because you don't want to do stuff that's going to hinder your performance in the actual match. But for me, it's like I just want to go out there and feel like I improved something. It's very easy to go into practice and just coast and just try to make balls and play well, but it takes sort of this extra bit of focus and intention to try to improve, and you kind of got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. So I feel like for me, it's if I can go into a day and come out feeling like I was trying my best to improve something and maybe it got better, maybe you take one step back, but as long as I was trying to implement something that my coach was saying and something that I believe is a weakness or something I'm struggling with at the time, then I would take that as a positive. I think there's no practice plan that's like a recipe, a magic key or recipe for success all the time. It's just you have to sort of cater it to what you're dealing with at the time. And I think if you believe in your training and you're working your butt off, that plan is probably going to work for you. I think everyone trains differently. I've heard of some top pros that literally 90% of the time they're getting fed out of the basket. They don't even hit live ball that much. And that works for them. But for me, I love to hit, and I like to find rhythm, and I like to work on technique and this and that and movement. So I'm like to hit a lot of balls and spend a lot of hours on court. So it's whatever works for you, but you have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to try to strive to get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you've improved in your own game? And what did you do to really get that over the edge over the years? Is there something, maybe it doesn't even have to be now, when you were in the 14s, was it your serve had to be better? Or when you were, at some point, were you not hitting with enough depth? Were you not moving forward enough? What is there something along the way that sticks out developmentally that you had to kind of get over that hurdle to find your next level?
Yeah, I think your consistency of ball, like some people can hit like one or two great balls, but can you do that over and over and not be affected when someone hits a great ball to you? I think my serve and forehand have definitely improved, especially when I was just only slicing for that season. That sort of made me improve my forehand because I wasn't able to win matches with just a slice. I needed to step my forehand up and try to create different ways to win points with that. So that in itself was a little bit of a blessing in disguise for my forehand, because it taught me how to take more forehands from the outside of the court and sort of dictate with that. But that also, a lot of that stuff comes from movement. Like, I mean, I always remember Federer saying, like, you know, tennis is all about movement. And when he's playing well, it's because he's moving well. So I think the injury actually taught me how to like think about, anticipate movement and really try to be quick enough to sort of get on top of the other guy or win the chess game of who can have better court position, who can be the first to move the guy and see an opening, if that makes sense. So a combination of like improving my movement and sort of seeing the game. And also I think in the last year, I've improved my returns a lot. If you can consistently make deep returns, it's just puts so much pressure on your opponent. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you can see that it distinguishes what level you're at. I think a big jump from college to pro is just the returning. The returning is very high quality and they start points. Everyone in college is pretty good from the baseline. But in the pros, you don't see guys just gifting returns away. And I think that's a key aspect of my game that has helped me this last season, and hope to keep on improving it, because at the next level, that's key. So it's easy to say serve and return. If that gets better, you know, you're going to be a better tennis player. But I think also the movement aspect of it and just trying to anticipate and find my patterns has also helped me improve in the last couple of years.
Just to highlight a couple of the things you said that resonated with me. I think it doesn't matter, like you said, necessarily what the plan is, because that's so person specific. But I think what does matter is that there is a plan, because purposeful practice is so important. That mindless hitting is really not creating any value for people. You have to have a plan, and you've got to have goals, and you have to be focused on those things, envisioning those things. And I hear that in you and in the work that you've put in, and obviously it's paid off a lot. And then the second thing, you know, you start talking obviously about serves and returns, which are huge. But when you talked about the movement, how your own movement has improved, it makes me think about Marty Fish's documentary. And in part of his documentary, he talks about that major, you know, jump he made in the ranking. And one of the biggest things he did was have his coach feed him corner to corner, corner to corner, corner to corner. Right. And it improved his consistency, his fitness, and everything. So if people take anything from that, it's that great players, no matter how they find it out, they eventually kind of all figure out the same thing. It's being purposeful, intentional, and then obviously you got to actually, there's no way to cheat the game. You got to put the time in. So anyway, that's just some of the things I hear you saying that I think it's so cool, because it's obviously something that everyone kind of says or discovers in their own way.
Yeah, totally.
Now, you recently, I believe the NCAA has started a new program with people. They're selecting some people, then some of it's based on how people finish in the NCAAs. I haven't had a chance to quite read up on all of it, but could you maybe explain to people this new program that you're a part of?
Are you talking about the ATP Accelerator program?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that program is implemented to sort of help the transition for college guys into the pro circuit. It's always tough when you're maybe one of the higher ranked college guys and you're playing at a pretty high level, but then you have to start back at 15Ks and you're not even getting into qualities because you don't have a ranking, and you're playing the whole college season, so you don't really have the opportunity to play pro events. And so what the ATP has done is partner with the ITA and created this accelerator program, which is sort of an unbelievable opportunity for us college guys who finish in the top 20. And so what it looks like, I guess, is since I'm planning on returning to college next year. And so that means I get 6 wildcards into challengers between now and next season. So I can use, they're 50 and 75K challengers. And so I'll use, I think, 4 this summer and then 2 in the fall. And yeah, it's just another way to help catapult, you know, the college guys to wherever their level falls in the pro circuit. It's just, it's great. I'm super happy they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I didn't realize there was anything like that cooking. or in the progress of any of their planning. And I was shocked when they decided to move the NCAA individuals to the front half of the year, because
Yeah.
I knew that was going to really de-incentivize people who are trying to go pro. It's going to cut into your ability to play those tournaments you need to play in the fall. And then
Yeah.
also in the past, the only incentives that might, at least a top American to come back would be obviously winning NCAAs and getting that wild card in the US Open. But even that's not always the biggest incentive, because only one person gets a main draw wild card if you actually win the whole thing, which injuries happen, things happen, life happens, and that's not always a guarantee. So I think the program's great. And that is for Americans and non-Americans, right? That's an ATP thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I
So
thought.
it's just, I think the top 10 guys get 6 to 8 main draw wild cards. And I think from 10 to, if you're 10 to 20, I think it's qualifying.
But even that's huge. I think
Oh
that's
yeah. I
huge.
mean,
Yeah.
you have to be ranked. I don't know exactly what it is, but you have to be ranked top probably 500, 400 to get
It's
into
like
some of them.
450 to make sure you get in. If you're hanging that, even that between that 450 and 500, you might be first, second man out, depending
Yes.
on how tough it is of a draw.
It's huge. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so you obviously have had the opportunity to play some pro events. You've played the college game at an extremely high level, and obviously had a lot of success in juniors. Is there anything between the way tennis is currently structured in the United States for junior tennis, the way college tennis is structured, or the way the pro circuit is structured, that you would like to see change?
In terms of like tournaments or
The way, yeah, like the way that rankings and tournaments are structured, the way that we're handling things, the way that play is, scoring is, anything really that you think that developmentally, or just for the fans, for the players, for anyone, that you're just like, well, I've seen this all firsthand and at a high level, and I really think it'd be better if we did this.
yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I love college tennis. Like for me, college tennis is the most fun thing that I've done on the tennis court. I've had my best memories there. And I think the deuce point actually is like an incredibly fun part of college tennis. Some people don't have the same outlook because maybe a few too many deuce points didn't go their way. But there's like this aspect of clutch factor that's added to the sport. And of course, in general, the sport, you need to be very clutch to be a good tennis player. There's a lot of moments where they're high pressure situations, you need to close out a match and this and that. But when you have deuce points every other game, or it's pretty common in a match, if you watch, you're going to have a lot of deuce points. So I feel like that is such a cool aspect that maybe like eventually, if your viewership goes down, could be like a really exciting part of tennis. I'm not sure that they would ever make that change, but uh, for people watching college tennis, I think that's one of the most exciting parts. I always hear them talk about like, how do you? Everyone asks like, how do you handle the pressure of a deuce point like that? The match is decided on 1 point almost sometimes, and it's like, yeah, that I mean, in the pros, it's similar too. Like it's 1 or 2 matches can, or 1 or 2 points can flip a match, but with the deuce point aspect of it, I think it's just great for viewers. It just adds a little bit of pressure and fun to the game. I also think on a totally different side of things is I feel like UTR has done like an unbelievable job over the years of improving maybe their algorithm, or just finding a way to rate players and have a good sense of kind of the level of where guys are and women as well. So I think using UTR more in like for ranking systems and for entries to events could be huge, because it's just an indication of your past, I don't know what it is, 20 or 30 matches. And it really does kind of encapsulate what the level that you're currently playing at may be. And I think sometimes with maybe like the ITA rankings or some like the USTA national rankings, I remember those sometimes just being so hard to manage because everyone's got different schedules and you're playing different tournaments. And so I think if junior tennis and college tennis could use UTR more to the benefit of the players, it would be I think it just adds an extra fairness to the game.
Yeah, no, I like that. I don't disagree with any of your takes. I think you're putting a lot of good information out there. Just to kind of play off of what you talked about first. when you watch another sporting event like a basketball game, what makes the game exciting? Lead changes. When it goes back and forth and one team grabs the lead and another one, there's a big momentum shift. And to me, nothing says that like a deuce point. College tennis has a great, it has a, they're doing great things. I think what I would love to see, and people would think I'm nuts, but me just being someone that loves tennis, let's say I have a favorite player and I spend the money to travel to a big ATP Masters 1000 or a Slam, and my favorite player loses in the first or second round, then they're done. And yeah, they're, if you love tennis, you love tennis. That's fine. But somewhere down the road in the future, full feed in back draw at a Slam. And in the back draw, it's 3 out of 5, fast 4, no ad. And when you're on a court that is a back draw match, people are allowed to go in and out whenever they want. There's food, there's music. You're allowed to shout. You're allowed to cheer. Tell me that wouldn't get exciting in the back. And then if you make it all the way back, then it's either the back draw is your third place winner, and it's like just an opportunity for those guys to make an extra paycheck. That's an opportunity for them to get, it doesn't have to be the same amount of ranking points. Look how few ranking points you get for a first, second round win at like a challenger, or even how much you have to do to get any ranking points at all for a future. Put in the back draw and just be like, all these matches count for the same amount. The farther you can go through this back draw, every one you win is worth 5 points. And it unintentionally creates kind of a protected ranking for these people. And then it's if you get to that third place, we got to keep televising it, get exciting. I could see different cultures getting loud the whole time. It would be nuts, like what Davis Cup atmosphere used to be. Right. And then if you want them to be able to play out all the way to the championship like they do in some other sports, you have to beat the guy who's still in the front draw twice. So you're playing now, if you make it through the back, you're playing another 3 out of 5 regular sets against the guy who's been in the front draw the whole time. If you beat him once, you give him both a day break, you come back again, and you got to beat him again to actually win the Slam. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you want to spice things up, we can do it.
That's a good idea. I think some people may disagree just for the sake of their bodies.
You're not wrong, but it could be optional.
No, it could totally be optional. I think it's a funny one. I like the gist of it.
Yeah, they'd have to play around with it a little bit. I'm just saying something about it'd be a way to incorporate allowing fans to be a little more rowdy, incorporate those exciting no ad points, incorporate making just a fun atmosphere and just doing something new. I think they need to experiment with stuff that's new. A tournament within a tournament. I don't know. It could be a cool thing if you really wanted it to, wanted it to be.
Allowing people to move around during points. In college tennis, you got so much going on around you. You got, one match to your right, one match to your left. You've got the bench players, you've got everything. And I really don't get bothered by the movement. And I never understood why, when you have these big stadiums and you're on these massive courts where you have all this space, why fans can't move. Okay. See it and you see it in your peripheral, but come on, you guys, everyone practices with people moving around. So why can't we play with it if it makes it a little bit more enjoyable to watch and hopefully people can be louder in stands. I think there's no reason that we have to be all, the old classy Wimbledon, clap after every point. I think the world's changing. People want to express themselves a little bit more. So why not bring that to the game of tennis?
I want to go to a Wimbledon match someday and people getting hype and it's midpoint and the whole stadium's ole, 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 and just the whole ground shaking and people are just going nuts. I think the only thing,
we might never see that day. We might
probably not. It's probably not going to happen. We'll call it anti-Wimbledon and we'll start it in some backcourts in the United States. We just got to find someone to fund it. Obviously no ranking points. It'd be tough. I don't know. It'd be similar to in basketball, they do every year. Obviously, it's not NBA affiliate, but there's that exciting tournament they put on every year called the $1 Million Tournament. And everyone just, you put teams together. Yeah. It's kind of a cool thing they do once a year. It's tennis needs that. It's the way that, golf had the Live Tour. And then they realized, okay, we can't really beat these people. And then they did a merger without even telling the players. Tennis they need the anti-whatever to figure it out to kind of force some change. Probably won't see that at actual Wimbledon. If Wimbledon wants to stay the only tournament that's completely traditional, I don't know. I'd be amazed if they'd even just let people wear a little more color. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
That was a total tangent. Wasn't meaning to talk that long. I want to get back to a few other things here. Um, what man, I could go a bunch of different ways, and I want to be useful of your time. I guess I'm going to just give you some freedom here. You know, you've played tennis at such a high level. Do you have any? We just covered a lot of just random tennis stuff, but do you have any tennis hot takes? Just something that you see happening that maybe you have a really strong opinion on.
Um,
Mine's no ad and back draws. You know, I've got all types of hot takes, but do you have something that you're passionate about?
uh, I'm pretty passionate about trying to just increase like viewership and make it more fun for fans, and trying to find different ways of doing that. I know you just had Noah Rubin on the podcast, and he's been trying to do that. You know, he's had a lot of good ideas, I think, but it's really hard to get through to probably some of the higher ups in tennis and change some of the rules because you know, there's so much tradition and history in tennis that sometimes people are stubborn and don't want to change it. But realistically, I mean, look what's happening in golf. There's change, but that negative publicity in a sense is probably increasing viewership. They have that Netflix series, which now tennis does too. But I think all that drama in a sense is drawing people towards golf. And I have a lot of buddies that are like, I've always played golf since I was young. It's one of my favorite sports. And a lot of buddies are just getting into it now because of all the drama. It's like, you want to know what's going on behind the scenes. What is this live golf? What is, you know, this beef between Roy McIlroy and Greg Norman and this and that. And so it's pretty interesting, but I think there just tennis needs a spark somewhere. And you know, like we're now battling against pickleball and
Yeah.
and padel. And so it's tough. I actually think, going back to sort of the last question, I was thinking about it while you were talking, and I think it would be great to have college tennis televised more. I
Yeah.
was hoping. I know that Tennis Channel did. I think the finals of NCAA's, but because of the weather conflict, they weren't able to do the semis and the finals. I just wish they got more time for that. I feel like if people really knew how fun it was to watch college tennis when they saw it on Tennis Channel, would you rather watch college tennis, or would you rather watch sort of a replay of a match from, you know, 10 years ago? Some people would choose college tennis, some the other, but I think it would just be more fun to have a different look.
I love that. And I've been thinking that kind of that same thing for a while. I don't understand why. I think Tennis Channel is great in intention. I think it's great in intention. Um, it's not perfect. I want to see, you know, tennis matches be kind of red zoned at the
Yeah.
slams. I want to see them. I'm like, growing up, I love Serena Williams. Love her. She's great. But when she was up 6-0, 4-0, 40 love on some random person in the first or second round, and I'm looking at the ticker at the top, and it's like Burditch
I
or
know,
someone
man.
else is in like a fifth set, and I'm like, what are we doing?
It's the
Oh
worst.
my gosh, please.
And it's
I
like, if
can
you don't
watch the
have,
highlights of her ripping 40 winners later. This is
right,
not entertaining right now when I know, not that it's not entertaining. It's not entertaining when my brain knows that's going on.
totally.
And that kills me. And then also, Tennis Channel, there are people in the tennis world that are passionate, that have the talents to create good content. The
Mhm.
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse had a 14 or 15-year-old make one of their scenes for their movie because they saw one of his videos, the Lego scene or something like that. They discovered him, and that's like a multi-million-dollar product. Tennis Channel, hire those people. There's so much content you put out. Get all the college matches on there. Put them all on there. Make it a part of Tennis Channel Plus. Incentivize it, and then and let people, you know, I don't even care if those matches have someone announcing it. I think that's overrated.
Yeah,
I just let
don't
us
even
see the
need to.
courts.
I love the red zone thing that you talked about, like the ability to change courts quickly and
Yeah.
go to the most exciting score line of a match just like that. That would be so huge for the game, I think.
Mike Cation's an amazing announcer, and you look at what he's done. Noah, he's trying to make this comeback on the pro tour, but I think he would be a great announcer. You put the two of them together. They don't even have to be there in person. They can talk of what they're seeing on the stream, jumping back and forth between courts, or the people over at Cracked Rackets. They've got a ton of talented people. The biggest issue tennis has is all these different people and groups won't work together. Tennis Channel, even if they want to use their own people, that's fine. But I want to see, like you said, buy out all the college tennis rights, do it right, put it on there, have it available to people so people actually like that is a product I feel like a lot of people would actually pay for. And then golf is getting exciting now, and you're right. And that whole thing is huge. But what has it done? There's because of that, what's going on in that separation and that change, there's been more money for everyone.
Totally.
And what does a good business do? It continues to make changes. It transcends. It stays ahead of the game. You keep beating the same dead horse, you're just going to slowly maybe lose viewership. You got to drive the excitement, slight changes, keep transcending. And golf, I think, there's this show coming out, or there was a show. I missed it. I don't know. I saw highlights of something where there's like a reality TV show of them following the players. And I know Netflix kind of tried to do their whole thing, and parts of that were great for like the normal kind of casual fan, but for people who follow tennis closely, it wasn't that exciting or juicy. Yeah. Tennis Channel, like, do me a favor, send some money to some dudes on the Futures Tour. I want a camera crew following Zeke Clark. I want the show, man. I would watch that. I'd be so entertained. That for a while, I think it was Tennis Channel that was kind of doing some like vlogs with JJ Wolf. Come on, give him a camera crew and follow him around. That man is traveling the world, and he is top 50, and he is playing like against great players. Like, it doesn't have to be those two, but just follow somebody around and give us real content. Like, that is what I love it. So you got me fired up about that. And I think I kind of have a hot take on that. I have a lot of hot takes. So I'm back talking too much, man. That wasn't my goal. I only have so much of your time. I want to really quick give you the opportunity here at the Grassroots Tennis Podcast. We're big believers in giving people their flowers. Who's someone underappreciated in the tennis community? Could be a coach, a community leader, a player, someone that's in the tennis community that you just know is underappreciated in their role and deserves a shout
out. Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind are the umpires and people behind the scenes, and also the announcers. Like what Alex Gruskin and his team at Cracked Rackets did for college tennis during NCAAs was absolutely like amazing.
Yeah.
He was working, I think one day he worked a 16-hour shift straight and just streaming matches all day. And one, like it's exciting to listen to someone, and two, they have an unbelievable broadcast that's flipping court to court on two matches at the same time at NCAA. They had, like, when I was watching, I think they had 2,000 people watching. It's totally different than pulling up a play site camera and having to switch back and forth. And especially for someone like my parents, who maybe are not as tech savvy as some younger people, it's a lot easier. Just put the Cracked Rackets on, and you're going to get the scoreline of the match. You're going to get Ruskin telling you how each match is sort of unfolding, and they'll switch between court to court. It's just they've done an unbelievable job. I don't know how much they get paid. I'm sure they're underpaid for what they do. And similar to like the umpires and everyone that kind of helps out with that, because fair play is everything in college tennis. You know, if there wasn't umpires, it would be I think it would be mayhem. You'd probably have most matches ending in fistfights. So they're definitely underappreciated. And on a coaching standpoint, like if I had to say someone that's underappreciated, first thing I think of is my private coach at home, Patrick Hurst. But in the tennis community, I think we just have to definitely give as much respect we can to ball boys, ball girls, the umpires, and the people behind the scenes. It's they work way longer hours than us, and sometimes it's forgone how grueling it can be to work those couple weeks at a tournament when us players are working hard and long hours too, but we're also doing something incredibly fun and at a really high level. And so we're really lucky to do that. And so the people behind the scenes that don't get the glory or any of the recognition, I think it's important to recognize them and sort of pay your respects whenever possible. So thanks for giving me opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great just take on all that. I agree with everything that you're saying. Something that I think is going to be interesting is with the ATP specifically is trying to go to all automatic line calling,
Yeah.
which is going to be nuts. I'm super excited about it. People are like, "Oh, I like the drama of a challenge." This made me so annoyed on the internet. I have to try to not argue with casuals. It frustrates me. But some people were arguing. There was a match, I believe it was at the French Open, Mackenzie McDonald. There's a ball, and it was I think it was out, and he hit a ball back, and then he like tries to stop playing. It's a huge point in the match, and whatever, and it's all confusing. And then I think he like hits the forehand, but then decides not to play. But then he kind of goes for it, and you can tell he kind of stopped, but didn't. And they tell him he loses
I
the
actually saw
point.
that.
Yeah, yeah. But the
Yeah.
people on the internet were arguing and saying, it's too late. He already played. I'm like, who cares? Was the ball in or the ball out? Let's get it right. Every
Right.
other sport is trending towards, hey, let's get the call right. Let's get this
Right.
replay system in here and get the call right. Tennis people are like, it's too late. It doesn't matter if he was right. It doesn't matter if the ball was out. He already hit a ball back. Who cares? The ball was out. Can we get the call right? That's what
I,
I would
I
like to see.
I agree with
Gosh,
you.
drives me
Let's just play
nuts.
fair. Let's just play fair.
That's all I want. I'm like, I don't care if he hit the next forehand. Most of us, even casual players, the ball is out. You say out, you hit the next ball. That's what I mean. It's just normal. It's reaction. It's you were ready and prepared to hit the next ball. Don't say, oh, you called it out too late. That ball you hit back was in the net. I'm like, your ball was out. Why do you care? If it was out, it's out. As long as I'm being fair, why does that matter? Anyway,
Oh, yeah,
I know there's
totally.
cheaters out there that ruin it for everyone, but okay, I'm going to try to wrap up quick. I have to know, Eliot, could you tell me your happiest tennis moment?
Oof. Um, to be honest, clinching the Big 12 regular season title this year at home against TCU, who was ranked 1, I think.
Huge match.
It was our biggest crowd ever, record 1,350 people, around 1,300 people. In front of our home crowd. That was probably one of the coolest moments ever on the court. And I won my match. I didn't clinch it, but then right after my match clinched, Pierre was like sort of serving for it, I think. And for him to win it there was like so exciting. And I think our fans, we had so many people coming up to us and they were like, we've never been to a college tennis match, but this was one of the most fun sporting events I've ever been to. And my professor, actually, who I'm now good friends with, was saying in his 20 years at UT, he's got season tickets to basketball and football. And he said this was by far like his most enjoyable event. So I think it felt this. I got the same enjoyment, obviously, as a player. I think that was probably the best moment for me on the court, just doing it with the team as well. Some of those individual wins when you're younger or even in college, they feel good, but to do something special and have a goal as a team and reach it is incredibly satisfying.
I was very excited for you guys when you got that win, and I'm not gonna lie. I tried my hardest to follow college tennis this year. It's so much harder than following the pro tour because it's almost like you have to be passionately involved because there's 6 lineup spots, sometimes different people in the doubles lineup to really know the stats, know the players for
Yeah.
so many teams. Because obviously there's more than a handful of teams that are in this NCAA tournament and to know what's going on. I'm not convinced. This is a hot take. Alex Greskin might be a robot. I don't know how he knows so many players. It's like he's passionately involved and like a volunteer assistant coach on at least 30 teams across the nation all at the same time. His brain. There's a computer chip, and I want to see the brain scan. I don't know. There's something that he's got something.
It's
It takes a next level of crazy. It's good crazy, but
he's
it's
thoroughly
passion. It's true passion. Passionate people speak the same language. I could listen to that man talk all day, and I would just like, I'm a big talker, could talk to a brick wall for an hour. I would just listen to him. I would,
Oh,
yeah. Anyway, but like I said, I could talk to a brick wall for an hour and I could keep you a lot longer. I'm going to finish up here with one more question, Eliot. I need to know, who do you think needs to come onto the Grassroots Tennis podcast? Who do you feel like has experiences or knowledge or information that needs to be shared with the tennis community? Keep in mind, whoever you say, you do have to help me get them on the pod because you're the man with the connections. I guarantee you know more people than me. Who do you think that we need to interview?
This is for me, it's a very relevant and easy answer because I actually hit with him on grass court today.
Okay.
But he's getting ready to go overseas and play obviously in Wimbledon and some warm-up tournaments for grass. Let's see if he's an American pro. Let's see if you can guess.
I saw it's Tommy Paul.
Oh, you saw it. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he just spending a couple of days with him. He's like the most humble, chill, normal guy. And I think he's got an unbelievable perspective. He's been through all the ups and downs of junior and pro tennis. And now obviously he's playing the best tennis of his life. I think he's 17 in the world. And I think just listening to him, it's fascinating. He's got some really good advice. So I think if there's anyone that I would think would be a great fit for a podcast, it would be him.
I would love that. I've been encouraging a lot of people to try to give me two. I won't make you give everyone else. You could always message me if any other coaches or community members too at any level come to mind. Let me know because we're happy to talk to everyone. I've got like 40 episodes lined up over the next month and a half. I'm pretty excited about it. We'd love to have Tommy. I'm not going to lie though, Eliot, like obviously Tommy is very relevant in the tennis space right now. He's an incredible athlete. I think people don't realize how fast that man is. He's a freak. If you get him on the Grassroots Tennis podcast, like for American tennis, as an American tennis fan, like obviously I grew up on Andy Roddick, but dude, you're definitely like you just as a person, top 5 ever. Like you're on my list of GOATs. Like I'm going to rank you. I'm not sure where you fall, but it'd be hard not to put you
automatic jump.
Dude, it's because you just all of a sudden it's like, man, Eliot's got the clout, you know, he got us Tommy Paul. That's crazy. Eliot, thank you. It's been enjoyable. And we're obviously, one of the goals here is to eventually kind of figure out how to do updates on tennis around the world and do it in a timely manner and in a medium that's, you know, maybe a little shorter, but friendly, telling people about singles, some people doubles, and obviously updating people about American tennis. We're going to be following you. We're wishing you the best of luck. I'm excited that you're going back for one more year of college tennis. I think that's great. So who knows, after a big win, we might have to check in sometime. Oh, thanks for coming on the pod.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's super enjoyable to talk. I think we could probably go for hours if we didn't have a time limit here. But yeah, I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll touch base and keep in touch and talk to each other soon.
Eliot, obviously, you know, you got to have fans to make it on the Pro Tour because you got to be marketable. Can you give them the Instagram and where to follow?
Yeah, Espizz, ESPIZZ11 is my Instagram. And then what else did you want?
Anywhere that people can follow your journey, man.
Oh, I think Instagram's probably the easiest. I sometimes use Twitter. I kind of just like using Twitter for like new tennis news. And
that's what I do.
It's great. It's like my favorite.
Great for the news. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Instagram's probably the best way. Or yeah, I think that's if someone shoots me like an Instagram DM, I'm always gonna respond and this and that. So that's probably the best way to reach me.
Okay, so for you listeners out there, make sure to go and follow Eliot Spizzirri on Instagram. Eliot, we're wishing you all the best. And for all you listeners here at the Grassroots Tennis Podcast, if you love what we're doing and growing the game, make sure to give us a like and to subscribe. We need those subscribers as we kind of start to grow this platform. I think this can be a cool opportunity to give back to the game. So make sure to like and subscribe. We have all of our content currently up on Spotify and YouTube, but we're working hard. It's kind of time consuming, but we're going to try to get all of this content to everywhere that you can find your podcast. Stay tuned. Eliot, thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. I appreciate it.
All right.